Because actually thinking about Mary's kind of the movement that they've achieved and what they're doing is really both good for the environment, but also really good for the business in terms of how you connect with the community. You're kind of almost seeing the customer at a point where you can really influence how they live their lives. A lot of people won't have moved for years. They might not have needed an electric charger for their car before, or they might not have thought about how, excuse me, their new house can be more sustainable in terms of lighting or heating.
Yeah, I think, going back to Mary's point, it's really great to hear almost the journey that Hamptons have gone through from the very first action and what you've achieved in the last few years, and actually what can then be achieved in the next few years. And it starts to really ramp up at that point. I think from Just Move In perspective, I'll reel off a few points. As a company, we've acknowledged that we're a B Corporation, which means that we scrutinize every aspect of how we operate and how we work, from the suppliers that we work with and recommend through to having living wage in place, internal diversity as an example. We're also pleased to announce this week that we have just signed up to the 1% for the Planet initiative, which commits us to donate 1% of our turnover to charities. Now, the three charities, or the primary charity that we work with, is one that plants mangrove trees in Myanmar. And the mangrove trees are one of the most they are the most carbon sequestering tree out there. So it delivers significant impact. We have a corporate relationship with the Wildlife Trust. So we think it's important to engage locally with the local community and to encourage our staff to better appreciate the beautiful nature that's on their doorstep. And then the third is an organization called Grounded, and that is teaching people how to grow food. So that's how we're operating at a corporate level. We're then in a very privileged position to work with agencies, and we can, I guess there's a number of things that we'd like to do to support and help agencies become more sustainable, and making donations on their behalf to charities is one. This event in itself is another. And then to your point, Gabby, we think that moving home is a change point in people's lives, and it's an incredible opportunity to positively influence people. Our mission statement is to help the world live better, one home at a time. And I think we will do our best to do that and achieve that goal by working with movers through the service that we provide. Now, a couple of examples: we were one of the first organizations in 2015 to start promoting 100% renewable energy at the point of people moving. We will also take into account the sustainability credentials of other organizations when we make recommendations, and that's something we want to become slicker at and refine, but it's in place today. I think there's also advice we can make around the home move. There's actually quite a lot of waste that's created when people move, and so making sure that waste is disposed of in a sensible and proper way. And I mean, this is a good example, and I'm guilty here. We're not, none of us are perfect. I've got 4 old iPhones sitting next to me in my top drawer, and I haven't chucked them out because I didn't want to put them in a standard bin, but I want to make sure they go to an organization that can, first of all, aim to reuse them or repurpose them, and they can't break them down and then reuse those precious metals. And it's really interesting today, actually in the press today, we've seen a report come out which highlights how precious those precious metals are. And if we want to become and move to an electrified society, we need those metals. There's a finite resource, and often the supply chains for those metals are very vulnerable. So the act that if we can provide some guidance to a mover and encourage them to, let's say, just dispose of any old phones and consumer electronic products in a more sustainable way, well, that's an example of one of the things we plan and would like to do more of. But I'd also actually put that kind of as an obvious action that an agency can instigate. You know, can they act as a collection, put a collection box within their agency to collect old and precious metal or consumer electronics from their staff, or possibly even their movers, and that's another nice action there. So we're doing a fair bit. There's more we'd like to do, and we're on our own journey and trying to ramp that up as much as possible.
Tom, don't leave us all in suspense. What do we do with our old phones then?
Well, there's an example.
Bring them around to your drawer.
Now, this is a bad example, but we're not, I'd say, not perfect. There's organizations out there like Reconomy who will take these phones, they will be sensitive around the data on them, if there's any data, and then hopefully recondition, repurpose, and reuse them. And if they can't, then those phones are broken down and reused in a sensible way. Or those precious metals are recycled.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, we all know we've moved homes, the amount of cables and old laptops and all those kinds of things. I'm sure all of them would be grateful to receive in other homes somewhere else, whether that's around the world or to be recycled. So good, practical and also useful advice for the consumer there.